give you my nights. Well, my words to the Lord, they went ignored, and suddenly the devil's next to me. Says I don't want your life, I'm gonna give you ears, help you see. I won't ever let you go. Gonna make sure you hear and know. Careful what you ask for, desires that you need. You might find things you wanted, all the things you need. Called out to the heavens, God, won't you give me a better life? Give you every waking day, I'll even give you my nights. Well, the words to the Lord, they went ignored, and suddenly the devil arise. Says I don't want your fucking life, I'm gonna give you some eyes. I won't ever let you go. Gonna make sure you see and know. Careful what you ask for, desires that you feed. You might find the things you wanted, all the things you need. Careful what you ask for, you get what you deserve. This is always better than that, when desire's the beast we serve. To the heavens, God, won't you give me a better life? I'll give you every waking day, I'll even give you my life. Well, the words to the Lord, they went ignored, and suddenly he's standing next to me. I love you, boy, but I don't want your life. I'm gonna give you memory. I won't ever let you be. Give you some thoughts and memories. Careful what you ask for, desires that you feed. You might find the things you wanted, all the things you need. Careful what you ask for, you get what you deserve. This is always better than that, when desire the beast we serve. Careful what you ask for. Careful what you ask for. This next one's an instrumental. It's called Aberration of Light. Thank you. Thank you. Ennio Morricone.
folks. Manny did it again, as he does do frequently with this confounded technology. We started in the wrong key, so we're going to start over again. Here we go. Ready? Aberration of Light. Take two. It's our final song. It's called Tomorrow. And it's about a serial killer. This room where variegated shadows bloom. The writing's on the wall. It's dry like swollen oaken door. What did I do with your body? Where will I go when I find you? Where will I be? Where will I be when they come for me tomorrow? I didn't see the signs, or have concern or fearful mind. Get in here with no sounds. Hold a mattress on the ground. Where will I go when they find you? What did you do to be fastened? Where will I be? Where will I be when they come for you tomorrow? Could this be another soul the same as me? I could not see what they find when they come for you tomorrow. This room where variegated shadows bloom. A mother's loving son, a mother's love's the only one. What did you do to be wanted? What did I say to be thrown out? What did you mean? Why did you say they won't come for you tomorrow? They won't come for you tomorrow. They won't come for you tomorrow. 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 Tomorrow they won't come for you tomorrow. No, 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 no. Thank you. We're Darker Than Blue, and we'll be with you in just a minute.
Hello and welcome back to Motifs Between the Notes. Thank you to our sponsors, R Run Go-Karting and Trinity Beer Garden. We are here with Darker Than Blue. What an awesome performance, guys. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Can you all take a moment to just introduce yourselves and what you play or your role in the band?
My name is Manny Silva. I play guitar, songwriter. That's it for now.
Tommy Toes, I play bass guitar.
Tim, I'm the drummer.
I'm Gresh, I'm the sax player and lead dancer.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. That was such a fun and unexpected performance. I feel like y'all have a really unique and like strong sound, and I can tell that y'all play a lot together. Can you tell us a little bit about the origins of Darker Than Blue?
Okay, that would be me. So, Darker Than Blue started as a project about 4 years ago. It took about 2 years to put a repertoire together, find the right members. We went through quite a few changes. And I guess we started playing end of 2019, was it? Right before COVID. And then we played right up to February, and then the pandemic hit and kind of shut us down. Prior to Darker Than Blue, and then a little history about the origins of the name, is prior to Darker Than Blue, I was in a band called Holy Cow, which was an industrial goth band. So it was very dark. It was very, very noisy. But I didn't want to do that again. And I had, in between Holy Cow and Darker Than Blue, kind of been listening to a lot of like Delta blues and stuff like that, a lot of horn parts, R&B. And so I thought, I just want to write good songs. I don't want to just have songs that are just noisy, droney, with a lot of screaming. I want to actually write songs with good melodies, good parts, good arrangements. And that's kind of where Darker Than Blue came from, was kind of out of the depths of the darkness of Holy Cow and other acts that I had been with before that. So,
Cool. What do you think was the shift for you personally to make that move away from noise?
well, the band broke up. I was with them for, like I said, almost 25 years, touring and stuff. But I think it was just after 25 years, of blowing your ears out and losing your hearing, and having done so much other stuff before. I've been in the 80s, kind of like new wave bands, and I've done country and western gigs and some sit-in jazz things. But this was particularly something that I wanted to do for me, because I'd always kind of been, I don't want to say a sideman, but somebody who joined an act, or had influences other than myself kind of working towards the music.
Good for you for making that jump.
Thanks.
That sounds like a really big deal.
Thanks.
Yeah, and for finding your bandmates who are all super talented.
They're amazing guys.
How did you all come together?
Well, Tom is my cousin.
Nice.
So I've been playing
Convenience.
with you for how long?
We started Jocks in 79.
So 1979, I've been playing with him.
That is so awesome.
Tom, you and Tim.
Yeah, so I'm the bass player. I played in a bunch of different bands. I believe in a solid rhythm section. Unfortunately, I've been stuck with the same guy for 40 years. But we're working on it. We really are working on it.
Almost ready to part ways.
Almost ready. Almost ready. We play in a few different bands together, me and Tim. And I go back to the 73. I started playing in clubs, and I was still in high school, but I could play because I was a performer. And I belonged to an avant-garde 2-hour rock opera with the art tricks, the whole bit.
Oh my gosh.
And my first gig was at P-PAC, and I was a kid, so...
How cool.
Yeah, and it's been all downhill since then. Yeah.
What was the name of this rock opera?
Georgie Porgy and the Bozo Band.
Oh my
the
God.
Bozo rock opera, yeah.
That's awesome.
Google it. It's something.
Thank you.
I got, believe it or not, one of the best networking tools that I know of as a musician is Craigslist. Believe it or not. And so I'm active duty United States Navy, lived all around the world,
wow.
and I'm a musician in the Navy. And
Yeah,
it's been,
thanks for your service.
thank you. It's been a huge honor. But every time I move to another town, I'm always looking for a new opportunity musically. And so I got on Facebook and I got in Craigslist and looked up saxophone, and there was an advertisement for a band looking for a saxophone player. And the rest is history. Joined in August 2019. Started working up a lot of sets, a lot of songs, and then when we hit the pandemic wall, of course, the live gigs shut down. But we persevered. A lot of bands kind of quit during that time. We found a way to utilize the internet and some tools on the internet, Jamulus and some other titles that were out there.
Cool.
And from a distance, from our living rooms, we were able to continue to rehearse and write new music. Manny wrote new tunes, and we rehearsed them from our individual living rooms
Wow.
in order to be ready for whenever the pandemic started to melt away. And so I really credit the resilience of the guys in the band to be able to push through that technological barrier. It's been pretty amazing.
Way to keep the dream alive. And yeah, that sounds complicated to practice together. Did it get easier over time, or okay?
Face-to-face rehearsals, I think, are easier. Definitely, when you add the that layer of the internet in between, it can be a little frustrating at times. Little gremlins pop in. But I prefer a face-to-face rehearsal any day. New guy in the band is Tim, so I'll hand it over to him. He could say how he learned about the band.
Hi, I'm Tim. I learned the band because Tommy had called, and I guess their other drummer had left, and they needed a drummer to just come down and sit in. And I've been playing with Tom for 40 years, 42 years actually, since I was 1 year old. 42 years ago, I was.
You just had a
So
spoon.
there's been stretches for like 10 years. He's the only bass player I played with for like 10 years straight.
Wow.
So yeah, he's like my other rhythmic half, as I call him. So he called me, and I came down and sat down. And once I heard the original material, things started going through my head. I said, "Well, this be great. That'd be great. That'd be great." And I talked to Manny. He said, "Just do what you want." And so I did, and they liked it. He said, "Can you tweak this? Can you change that?" Sure, it's your song. And it came together really well. Then you add, the cherry on top here. This guy's phenomenal. His Manny's songwriting is great. The saxophone is phenomenal. It's fun to play with this band. It really is. It's nice to do original stuff, get that creative side out, and have fun doing it. It's so much fun. These guys are great guys.
Hell yeah. And it's super fun to listen to you too.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. So you've been together since 2019. You had this whole Jamulus period. When did you feel like it was okay to come back together and start playing in person again? Are you trying to do some in-person gigs, especially as the spring opens up? What's your game plan for 2022?
So
At a
yeah,
glance.
we've started to play. We just we had a show a couple of weeks ago. They've been trickling in slowly, but because we were kind of 3 months old at the time, the momentum that we had started to build and the buzz we started to build, we had to start over again, essentially, because
Gotcha.
everybody went into hibernation, and then when we came back out, I think when it was maybe November, I think, when we did our first show. Yeah. I mean, it's been hard. Pandemic, people are still not coming out. That's why, doing something like this is great, because they don't have to come out if they're still kind of, in lockdown, but we get exposure. We post music that we record on our Facebook page, Darker Than Blue Band on Facebook. You can go there. You can see live performances. We have recordings there. And we have a Bandcamp page, darkerthanblue.bandcamp.com, where you can purchase our originals.
Awesome. Thank you for that info.
Okay.
If you guys had a dream venue, where would you want to perform next? Maybe that's different for everybody, but in terms of Providence or locally.
I could tell you that there is no specific name or specific venue. Frankly, any venue where audiences show up who want to hear amazing original music and are energized by the music to enjoy themselves in the moment. The venue itself, of course, Parlor Providence is fantastic. Great folks here and a wonderful venue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody here. But I think that as this pandemic hopefully becomes an endemic and starts to get back to a sense of normal, maybe a new normal, but a normal nonetheless, getting back out and supporting live music is one of the spices of life. One of the
Yes.
things that makes us who we are. And so I would say as soon as you feel safe, please come out and support live music. The musicians need the energy from you, and I feel like we provide something to the audience that just makes life a little bit better
Absolutely.
and makes tomorrow a little bit brighter. So any venue where there's people who want to listen to great music is my favorite venue to play.
All right, Darker Than Blue, Born Again, ready to fly. Oh my God, I love that. Well, I am curious. Did you want to add on to that?
No,
Okay.
I mean, yeah. To add to that, I've played a lot of venues, big, small. I've played venues where one night you're in front of 1,000 people, and the next night you're playing to the bartender and the coat check girls. It doesn't matter.
Lucky them.
Well, the point is we love this, so you don't play any differently if it's 1,000 people or 2. You get up and you give every ounce of energy and creativity that you have to whoever's there. Doesn't matter who it is, and that's the only way to perform. You can't say, there's only 2 people here. Let's just blow through this and get the heck out of here. You play because that's who you are.
Yeah. Well, we definitely hear that and feel that. What has your journey been like as musicians? Who are your influences? I feel like your sound is so unique. You hear so many genres in there. The way that you all describe yourself on your Bandcamp is like goth, blues, alternative. Like, who would you say are your primary influences in terms of your sound as a band, Darker Than Blue, and then for you as a musician?
Okay, so this is probably going to be one of those pass the mic around things.
Yeah, it's kind of a huge question.
Right,
Maybe just
so-
for Darker Than Blue first. And
So
then
from
yourselves.
a songwriting perspective, I'm kind of going back to Bauhaus. We're going back to
Is Bauhaus a genre?
no,
Sorry.
Bauhaus was a band.
Okay. Bauhaus the bands. Okay.
Good God.
What was Bauhaus like?
Bauhaus was goth, kind
Cool.
of dark goth. Even like Tom Waits.
Very
some
cool.
stuff happening there.
Hear that in your voice a little bit.
Yeah, Sunhouse, with a lot of the kind of the blues, the blues progression and stuff. I'm all over the place. I've been doing this for a long time, and so when you have a long career in music, you take what is applicable and you throw away what's not.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of this mishmash of, Brian Eno, ambient music. The blues come from the Delta stuff. The lounge stuff comes from, old burlesque music. I don't know if you caught. No, we didn't actually do that. There's one song where we throw a little nugget of Harlem Nocturne in the middle of the song, which is
Cool.
an old jazz piece. But yeah, I'm kind of steeped in so many different genres, but again, right now, they're all kind of in this pot that I stir, and kind of what comes out comes out. So I'll pass it along. Where you go?
Believe it or not, I grew up on watching the Ed Sullivan Show. So I saw the Beatles the first time they played.
Wow.
I saw the Animals. I saw the Stones. I saw my influences. I like John Entwistle from The Who, Sting, of course. I like the Stones. I've always had a thing for the Stones. Whoever the bass player is on Lou Reed Live, that guy was a monster. I play whatever makes me happy, and normally that's whatever makes the other people in the band happy. So that's what makes me happy, being tight, being part of.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm a huge AM Gold fan. I love the pop tunes of the 60s and 70s and all that corny stuff. And there's a million drummers that are fabulous. I saw Buddy Rich back back in '84, I think it was, or '83. I saw him at Warwick High School. In fact, Warwick Vets High School.
Wow.
And I mean, he was just phenomenal, and he was great. But you see guys like that, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm not even not even near there." But one of my great influences, and I didn't realize it till about 10 years ago, was Hal Blaine. Hal Blaine was in the Wrecking Crew that did all those pop tunes from the '60s and '70s.
Oh.
And my attitude is, it's all about the song. If I want to be playing something, but it doesn't fit, like there's a couple songs we do, and Manny says, "Okay, this is what I want, and I want it this all the way through the song like this." Okay, man, it's your song. It's about the song.
Right.
Then there's other times he's, "Okay, go crazy here," or Gresham says, "Okay, I need you to come out here because I'm coming out and I get to be a little wilder." But with Hal Blaine, he was a great studio musician. He heard these songs, and it was all about the song. And when you get a great songwriter like Manny and putting it together with these other musicians, it has to be about the song. It can't be about Tommy on bass or Gresham. It has to be a unit. And
Right.
we gelled as a unit, which is really great. And it really makes me feel comfortable, and it really makes me feel happy that way.
That's so great to hear. I just learned about the Wrecking Crew through a documentary. I don't know if you saw it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so saxophone influences, smooth jazz guys like Gerald Albright, right? There's an amazing tenor saxophone player who's passed away named Michael Brecker. There's amazing artists like Stanley Turrentine. These are some of my saxophone influences. But frankly, I think the biggest influence in the way I approach this band is Dana Cawley. He was the Barry sax player for Morphine. And Morphine was a lot of people who are watching this are probably familiar with that band. They were huge out of Boston in the 90s, and they have an enormous influence over how I approach this particular band. Musical influences, since I was a kid, are always going to inform things like the way that you improvise a solo, the energy that you bring to the stage. But when it comes to a concept of how to help compose what is happening musically in the moment, I would say Morphine is the biggest influence, and Dana Cawley on saxophone. So
Cool. And you were sharing right before this, Garsh, sorry to put you on the spot again. You had just learned about Morphine, correct? When you were already performing as a musician up here?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I had joined the band, again, in a rehearsal perspective around August of 2019. And I think our first gig was around November of 2019 in a bar in Boston. And at the end of that gig, somebody from the audience, I remember, had a slice of pizza in my hand, and we were listening to the next band play, and they said, "Have you ever heard of Morphine?" I was like, "No, what's this band Morphine?" And they got me excited about it, and so I had that drive back from Boston, and I pulled up Spotify and hit play on Morphine, and have been addicted to Morphine ever since. I constantly listen to this band.
funny.
It's not funny at all. It's a terrible joke. So at any rate, that terrible joke aside, the influence musically that band has had on the way that I approach playing as a rhythm section member and then also soloing in the band has been enormous. And it's all due to just a fan in our first gig up in Boston mentioning that band.
Very cool.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's an amazing group, and they still play live in a different form, but it's still a very influential group.
Oh, man. Imagine if you played with Morphine.
It would be a dream.
I think we played the night they were at the Columbus, the Morphine Orchestra. Vapors of Morphine. We played the same night they were there, so we're like,
Very cool.
yeah. So couldn't make
That's awesome. Well, cheers to a future. Yeah. Yeah, the variety of songs were very interesting. Starting with Careful What You Ask For. The second song, Devil's Dealer, being an unexpected, amazing instrumental song. And Tomorrow is what I caught. And did you want to shout out to any additional songs there?
No, the instrumental was called Aberration of Light.
Aberration of Light.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and that's a tribute to
Sorry,
like
thank you.
Sergio Leone kind of film score. I grew up on a lot of film score. The second song was Devil's Deal, which was interesting. It was a tale Gresh told me about how the devil comes down and the man is not happy with his life, so he says, make things better for me. So the devil says, well, I'll give you some eyes. And then he's still not happy, so the devil says, well, I'll give you some ears. and he's still not happy. So the devil says, well, then I'll just take away all your memories and give you new ones, so you don't remember all of the pain that you had before. But that means you forget everything else, your family, your loved ones, and all that stuff. So that's why it's careful what you ask for.
Whoa.
Go ahead.
So we were in a rehearsal on Jamulus during the pandemic, and I had heard this podcast, and I told this story at the end of a rehearsal, and I want to say it was like a Tuesday night, and our next rehearsal was Thursday night. And I had heard the podcast. I told the story at the end of rehearsal, and I remember Manny thinking or saying something to the effect of, "That's really interesting." By Thursday, at the beginning of rehearsal, Manny had already sent out a recording and written all the lyrics and the entire form for this song.
Whoa.
And I was like, that is so genius to take this concept of a song or of a, I don't know, a podcast that I had heard. Everybody rolls their eyes when they hear podcast, but yeah,
This is a podcast.
right.
Come
It's
on,
just,
man.
no. But no, I listen to podcasts constantly. It is my entertainment.
cool.
But it's so funny when you tell somebody, "Oh, I heard it on a podcast." They're like, podcast." Anyway, so Manny took that idea, it planted a seed, he grew it into this amazing tune, and it's one of the ones that when we post it on social media has some of the most positive feedback because it's high energy.
Yeah.
There's a really cool thread of a storyline throughout the song,
Yeah.
and it was very well done. It's one of my most exciting tunes to play.
Cool story.
Yeah, and lyrically it follows kind of like the old blues lyrics, where they repeat the first three lines, and then the last line of the stanza would change. So went down to the graveyard, buried my heart in the ground. Went down to the graveyard, buried my heart in the ground. Went to the ground to the graveyard, buried my heart in the ground. Don't want my heart follow me around. That's kind of like a bluesy kind of, and that's the way that was written. So just all the verses, pretty much the first half of it is the same, and then you change the last piece. So it wasn't too hard to write, but it was fun.
Yeah, still seized by a moment of inspiration. It's cool to hear
Thanks.
how intentional that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that you have like a specific pattern for songwriting? Or it depends?
No. Sometimes I'll start with a drum machine. Other times I'll start with an acoustic guitar. Sometimes it's a vocal melody. So there really is. And then when you start adding everyone else to the soup, it will start to change.
Right.
Gresh's contributions will make me think a little bit different. The rhythm section, as it starts to pull things together, will cause us to adjust. And so it's kind of like it will birth itself
Cool.
out of where it started, but that's only because of the four individuals who are creating it.
So it's definitely all your songs.
Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I noticed there was a lot of really cool electronic sound effects that happened, and every time I would be like, "How did that just happen? Like, was it a foot pedal? Like, do you have the stuff pre-looped? Is there?"
No, again, some of my influences that I didn't mention are like Robert Fripp, Adrian Belew, Brian Eno, a lot of this really textured stuff. So on my pedal board, there are a lot of things like a Mellotron emulator or pitch shifters, which give it kind of a sparkly sound. So when I start to use those, it starts to fill in the void. It makes it sound fuller, makes it sound crisper. But as equally important is white space. So we're conscious of texturing, but we're also conscious that you can't do that too much because everything will just start to sound like a big wash of mud. So it's a balance. Everything is a balance.
Very cool. Appreciate that. So you mentioned that, we can hear more of your music on Bandcamp. And is there any other shout out that you'd like to give either to other projects or to where we can find more music and where we can hear you guys more?
Facebook, Bandcamp.
Anyplace else?
Right now, that's it. Right, that's it. Those are the only two places where you can find us. Live, please come out when you see us. If support venue, support musicians. I've been doing this a long time, and this is where music starts. This is where I've watched. As a matter of fact, the other night we played with a young woman. She was 22 years old, and it was her first paid gig. And
Woohoo!
I just looked and went, this, who knows where she's going to go,
Right.
But if she doesn't have these places like the Parlor and other venues in Providence, which there were so many more when I was growing up, and they were so much more popular right now.
That's important to hear.
Yeah, live music is, I worry about it because of the pandemic and just, people's complacency to stay home. You have to get out and support this, or original music has no place to be born.
Well, here's to perpetuating original music. And, I just want to say the OG came up right before this interview. You guys are the original gangsters. It's been such a pleasure to hear your stories and your influences and see the beginnings of Darker Than Blue. I'm very excited to hear you more and see where y'all go.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much.